Trump has canceled aid to Palestinian refugees, pulled the U.S. out of the UN Human Rights Council, signed an executive order maximizing pressure on Iran, said America will take control of the Gaza Strip and will relocate all Palestinians from there. Let's discuss which of these can actually come true and which will remain White House fantasies. Stay tuned. Trump and Netanyahu held a joint press conference at the White House that will definitely go down in history as a world event. The U.S. president made so many statements that the entire Arab world, probably even Israel, and most likely the entire planet is now in complete shock. And the first thing to note is that Trump no longer supports the plan for a Palestinian state. Instead, Trump has said that Palestinian Arabs will definitely be evacuated from the Gaza Strip and resettled in other countries. And now Trump notes that Egypt, Jordan, and a dozen other states will have no choice but to accept them. Even though the leaders of Egypt and Jordan had previously explicitly said they would not allow Palestinians from Gaza to enter their countries. When asked by a reporter what would happen if Egypt and Jordan didn't want them, Trump recalled that Venezuela had also said it wouldn't accept migrants. Many people said that this was unrealistic, but then it turned out that they were wrong. Subscribe to my channel right now. I tell you about the latest news from around the world. It is worth recalling that the U.S. recently approved the sale of modern weapons to Egypt for almost $1 billion. But they can also cancel the agreement. So it is very likely that in the near future, we will see Egypt claiming the humanity of accepting some Palestinians in various countries. But that's not certain. What is absolutely certain is that Egypt does not want to lose such a contract. Trump thinks rebuilding Gaza will take at least 10 years, and the new sites will do some good for the settlers, and they won't want to go back to Gaza. At the same time, for voluntary departure, Palestinians are planned to be paid a lump sum allowance, the amount of which will be set by the Treasury Department. And what do you think about it? Write in the comments. And now, according to Trump, we are not talking about temporary, but about the permanent resettlement of all Palestinian Arabs from Gaza. Also, Trump said not in context, but directly that the U.S. will take Gaza under its control, level everything there, demolish all the destroyed houses, and then create an economy there, which will be able to provide an infinite number of jobs. At the same time, the White House has already clarified that America does not intend to finance the reconstruction of Gaza or station American troops there. By take control of Gaza, it was meant that they will take care of the Gaza issue personally in terms of evacuation and reconstruction. And here it is important to note that Trump's words are not empty words. American PMCs are already arriving in the Gaza Strip, which may be probing the area before a larger force enters. But again, whether this is the case, unfortunately, we will only know after what happened. And it is also important to emphasize that the Americans do not even listen to all the statements of Hamas, because these are disproportionately different forces. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said that Gaza must be liberated from Hamas, and Trump has made it clear that Hamas will not rebuild Gaza, to which Hamas said it condemned the U.S. president's statement and called on him to retract his statements, but then added that they are ready for talks with the Trump administration. And the Arabs who run the Middle East are well aware that Trump is not throwing words to the wind. The important point is that after Trump's extravagant introduction, many politicians around the world spoke out. Literally everyone, except those who are really concerned. Arab leaders, not just any ministers, but the top leaders of states. But they didn't speak out not because they support Trump's plan. No, not at all. They had all collectively said before that they were not going to relocate anyone. Nevertheless, after the official decrees of the U.S. president, the Arab leaders are silent because they don't understand how to behave at all yet. How to tell Trump that all his ideas are crazy and to do it in such a way as not to get hit with higher tariffs, canceled trade agreements, or even worse, sanctions, etc. And most likely they will offer what they have already offered Biden, to take over the rebuilding of Gaza against the backdrop of dismantling the Hamas regime. That said, Saudi Arabia can do much more. That 2 million Palestinians will be resettled en masse somewhere. There is no chance of that. It's impossible for many reasons. But everything else, American and Israeli presence, the elimination of Hamas, control of borders and supplies, official recognition of Israel, restoration of Saudis, Turks, Syrians, and many more ties with it, all of which the Middle East will agree to just for canceling Trump's plan to emigrate Palestinians. Rule of thumb, ask for more, and you get as much as you want. Also, Trump again noted Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights and the U.S. recognition of that sovereignty, and said a plan is being worked on for possible Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. He will give a response on that issue in 4 weeks. Already next week, Trump has a meeting with the King of Jordan and the Emir of Qatar, and 2 weeks from now, he's meeting with the President of Egypt. We are literally living in the history books, and the redrawing of the Middle East is happening right now. Now, as far as Iran is concerned, the New York Times writes that the U.S. has concluded that Iran is accelerating work on nuclear weapons. According to their information, fresh intelligence was passed to the U.S. President's new national security team, after which Trump stated that they are too close to nuclear weapons and the U.S. is not going to let Iran get one, and immediately brought back radical sanctions on Iran by signing an executive order to maximize pressure on Tehran. According to the source, the purpose of the decree is to block all possible tools that Washington believes could contribute to Tehran's development of nuclear weapons. According to the information, Trump will apply the most aggressive sanctions, reduce Iranian exports to zero, and reduce the regime's ability to finance terror in the Middle East and around the world. This is probably Washington's way of trying to corner the Ayatollah's regime. Nevertheless, to be fair, the Iranians are far from being stupid people and have an excellent reading of the current situation. They do not react to American provocations, but at the same time they realize that it will not be possible to stay static for long. And now the country is probably going through the most difficult times in the entire existence of the regime. Iran's foreign minister said that the U.S. maximum pressure policy is a failed attempt. And if the main obstacle for the U.S. is Iran's desire to build nuclear weapons, then this can be solved. To which Trump stated that Iran should not have nuclear weapons. And if Iran responds somehow or tries to kill it as they wanted to do last time, Iran will be destroyed. Nevertheless, the U.S. president emphasizes that reports that America is going to bomb Iran are greatly exaggerated. He still hopes to reach an agreement with Iran and offers to sign the deal and celebrate the deed. However, he said that he was ready to negotiate with the Iranian president and had the right to prevent Iranian oil from being sold to other countries. Iranian authorities responded to this by saying that if Trump seizes Iranian ships, there will be a tanker war in the Persian Gulf. And they added that Iran will never sit down at the negotiating table under pressure. All in all, the situation is heating up. But experts agree that this is Trump's typical way of negotiating. First, he presses hard to have more room for maneuver. But judging by what is happening in general, the U.S. president decided not to be petty in his pressure. It is also important to consider other developments. Trump signed executive orders canceling international aid and cutting off funding to the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian refugees. That essentially cuts off a lot of structures that existed only because of U.S. subsidies, including those with ties to Palestine. Trump also signed an executive order to withdraw from the World Health Organization, from the UN Human Rights Council, and reevaluate American participation in UNESCO and the UN as a whole, since, according to him, these organizations do not fulfill their tasks. And following the U.S., Israel withdrew from the UN Human Rights Council, and Argentina withdrew from the WHO. Whether the chain reaction will spread to other countries, we will soon see. But it is clear that the usual structure of the world order is beginning to change, and Trump has opened that door with both feet. Stay tuned. Write in the comments what you think about it. Boosty and Patreon for those who want to support the channel. See you.